Hello, Dave.
Hello, Matt. How's it going?
All right. I was just wondering, I wonder if Dave's going to call or if I should grab that book. And as I turned to look for the book, the phone rang. I'm like, well, okay, Dave's going to call.
He doesn't sleep all the time. just last time. Okay, I hope I've got everything here, man. This has been right up to the last minute getting everything together. So we might get a little stuttery here. Are we recording?
We are recording.
Okay. Hi, Dave. February. Fibonacci. The second month of the year and the first month of 2024, where the first Thursday is the first. August is the other one. See, I didn't know that.
I actually looked at the calendar when I was writing it out. I'm like, I wonder how many times it's going to be the first. And no, it's only twice. Okay, that's good.
I'll take that. And we come together again for the Please Hold for Dave Sim. And it's your turn to remember Jeff Seiler. But last month, I pulled in a ringer. And he's back for this month if you want to use it. And I'm going to give you a big thumbs up on that. Okay. And then later on, see, now I'm getting disorganized already, where, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to combine the Remembering Jeff Seiler spot and the Lank Stevens spot into one answer, one little block of time. Why, you might ask? Because, Matt Dow, we need to talk.
Okay.
Get ready for Dave Sim's question for Matt Dow in part 2.
All right.
Okay. So yeah, this is Steve Peters, and good news from Steve Peters. I called him a couple of hours ago, and he told me he was within $68 of his goal, whereas on Tuesday he was about halfway to his goal, which put the fear of God into both of us. It's like, man, we don't have much time to do something about this. This all where all of you are listening right now. This all ended 2 days ago, but where we are, there's 3 hours left in Steve Peters' Kickstarter campaign.
I just looked at Facebook before I was getting ready. He's fully funded. He got the $68. Thanks to Philip Fry and Larry Wooten. That's good news, particularly for me, because I told him we can. If he hits his goal and goes past his goal, then by however much he goes past, that'll figure into how much I'm getting for my variant cover. Okay, so Steve writes, read last month's discussion about whether or not Seiler sat for my quote alien unquote portrait of him. I've had a sign on my convention tables for years now saying, quote, Steve can draw you as an alien, unquote. When people buy something from me or on Free Comic Book Day when I do free sketches, I offer folks a sketch of a comic verse character or the customer as an alien and point to the sign. The current one has a bunch of examples of previous customers. I couldn't find a good photo, but I did find an earlier sign which just has a single sketch card as a sample. And you'll have that up as part of our visuals right now. The customer will usually sound interested, and I'll go on to explain that I'll draw the person as a lecru. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Which is the most common alien species living on the Comic Versus space station. That gives me a chance to talk about the comic, which will hopefully help in getting a sale. Part of the hook is that I'll tell the person that their alien counterpart could appear as a background character in a future issue. That's pretty cool. I didn't know about that one, which has happened on many occasions, as I always need background denizens in the comic versus comic shop. I almost always take a photo of the person so that they don't have to stand there posing the whole time I'm drawing. Yeah, see, Grandpa's way behind the time. All of these people have cell phones. That makes a lot of sense. If Bianca's not with me to chat with the customer, I'll tell them that they can keep looking around the convention and come back for the sketch, because it's tough for me to chit-chat and draw at the same time. I've had to hunt down the customer on a few occasions to give them their sketch card. And once or twice, the person never came back. That's one of those, okay, this is part of the Lank Stevens aspect of this. Humiliation. That's humiliating, that you would have to, A, hunt down the customer, and B, have a customer not even come back for their sketch card. But that's a big part of being an independent cartoonist, is you have to get used to the fact that a lot of it is humiliating, and the only rule of thumb is don't let it humiliate you. It's got nothing to do with you personally. It's another person. They're running their own program. They got their own agenda when they're at the convention. If they forgot you, it's nothing personal. It's nothing about your work, nothing about your intellectual property. So that's a good mindset. If you're going to a convention and you're going to be sitting in Artist Alley, or you're going to be sitting at your dealer's table, it's doesn't matter what you do. I can understand it intellectually as a humiliating thing, but I'm just not going to be humiliated by it. Steve goes on, which is the long way of explaining that I took Seiler's photo for his sketch card. I remember being pleased that he turned to a 3/4 view, because everyone who poses as if they were taking a passport photo. So there tends to be a sameness to the sketches. I wrote a little note here for myself that, Steve, you should definitely pose them. Just explain to them as an artist, different people's faces work better from different angles. Can you just turn your head slowly from one side to the other and look up and look down? And I'm going to tell you, that one right there, don't move, and then take the picture of that. I create folders on my hard drive for every event that include any photos of the con I've taken and scans of the sketches if I'm able to have a scanner with me. And I also put all of the reference photos in there, so I was able to find the reference pic of Seiler that I took. So you can check it out for comparison. And while I've been reading all of that, you've been looking at the photo of Seiler, hopefully side by side with his sketch card, and that's pretty impressive. When I saw the photo of Jeff, I thought, okay, that's a real aptitude. As Steve says, Bianca has commented many times that I'm good at getting people's likenesses, even with the alien, quote, prosthetics, unquote. The aliens kind of look like Star Trek characters, which is quite intentional. Maybe I should have been a caricature artist. I would interject there and go, it's better to be a translation cartoonist, which is what you're doing. It doesn't matter who you are or what you look like. I can translate you into my style and into one of my characters, and even the average civilian is going to be impressed by that, going, you know, that actually looks like Doris, or that actually looks like Mark, or whoever it is that they're at the convention with. As you saw last time, I did 2 sketch cards for Seiler that year. Less annoying than the year that he kept coming back to my table and buying one sketch at a time so that he could get a bunch of free sketches. Ha! And I wrote, that sounds like Seiler. Whatever your ground rules, he would find your loophole and drive his SUV through it.
That was when you sent the Glamourpuss 25s to me, you sent them through Jeff, so I had to pick them up at his apartment. And there were the 5 Zutanopus that you signed and numbered as the Mouse Skull edition. And he's like, oh, I really would like one of these. I'm like, okay, well, let me figure out what I want to do with them first, because I've literally had these for 48 seconds, Jeff. You know, you hand them to me, I'm looking at them, I'm going, okay, I got to figure out what I want to do with this. You know, do I want to sell them? Do I want to keep them? You know, and you're going, can I get one? And it's like, you know, give me an hour or two to think about what I want to do, and then I'll get back to you. And it was one of those, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and then he moved before I could sell him one. So I still technically have, quote-unquote, Jeff's downstairs, I believe. He may have actually gotten it, now that I think about it. I may have said, okay, you can have number 5, because I'm keeping number 1, and, you know, because he wanted 1, and I'm like, no, Jeff, let's be reasonable.
Let's start negotiating 48 seconds into your possession, and let's start with, I get the best one.
That's Jeff.
That's Jeff. That was Jeff all over. So, yeah, the Ghosts of Rabbit Hell Kickstarter is ending as we record this. I was even going to suggest, can you, is there some way to put the Kickstarter up on your computer while we're doing this so we can update as we're getting closer to, I guess it's, Steve Peters is on the East Coast, so he's in the same time zone here. It would be ending at 9 o'clock Eastern time, which would be
8 o'clock my time.
8 o'clock your time, right. And go ahead.
Yeah, I can periodically take a look.
All right, and just sort of, if it suddenly goes up by $28,000 or something like that, Elon Musk finally came to his senses and went, I got to get in on some of this Steve Peters action. Then definitely just say, Dave, hold that thought. We have to interrupt for the Elon Musk announcement. With last day Dave sent a Kimbo variant cover. I'm going to have more to say on that as soon as we know who's getting the Akimbo cover, which I think we won't have to wait for the surveys on that. It'll be like, okay, this was the person who gave the largest cash donation, and so consequently they will be getting the cover. And then at that point, I'm going to have some stuff to discuss with Steve first, as we're building how these things are going to work. As the cartoonist of record, it's Steve's Kickstarter, it's Steve's book. I'm a contributor, so it's my variant cover. So here's what I'm thinking of related to the variant cover. Is Steve okay with that? Because I do want to defer to the cartoonist of record. And if Steve goes, I have no idea, and would throw it back to me, you do whatever you want, then I would probably bring in the person who got the cover and say, here's what I was picturing doing with it. It's your cover. Do you want that on your cover? Because what I've got in mind can get pretty complicated and pretty interesting. And you're going to have a lot of decisions to make on your own as the winner of the cover. And I'm saying this and I'm going, right, they've still got 3 hours to decide who's the top cash donor to Steve Peters' Kickstarter. And you can go, that's all a little too complicated for me. Dave, you do whatever you want to do. That would be fine. Or if they go, really? I get to decide that? I get to decide whether this thing is this and that thing is that. And it's like, yeah, because it's your cover. You donated the most amount of money. So as far as Dave Sim variant cover contributor is concerned, you're driving the bus. And you say here, speaking of Akimbo, it's being kickstarted by Ben Hobbs and ends on February 9th, along with the 10th Cerebus Archive portfolio. And then you say, we need to mention that a lot. Very good point. Very good point. I am very, very slack to promote my own stuff, which I really shouldn't do. Like I'm sitting here, talking about Dave Sim and Cerebus stuff for however many hours. Get in some plugs for yourself there, Dave. So at this point, they should be looking at photos of Rolly. Rolly won't be in the photos. We've already established that. Spent most of the day putting the Can 10 portfolios together. So I asked him to take a number of photos for Please Hold for Dave Sim that would show the Can 10 portfolios getting assembled, which I'm just tickled to death about. It's February 1st. Campaign doesn't end until February 9th. We're going to have these puppies ready to go. But getting back to Steve Peters and the Lank Stevens, here's stuff that I recommend. It's a great convention hook that Steve came up with there. And that's what every independent cartoonist, if you're going to be, printing your comics, taking them to conventions and sitting at a table and selling them, it's really dropping the ball on the 1 yard line to not have a convention hook in mind. Just, I go to the convention, here's my table, here's all of my books. Now I'm just going to sit and stare, waiting for somebody to buy them. Convention hook. What are the aliens called on Star Trek? Do you know off the top of your head the ones that do have that prosthetics look that Steve does for the aliens in?
It's sort of like a Klingon. It's sort of like a Ferengi. Mostly it was Star Trek: The Next Generation, where they just would, you came on the show and they glued crap in your face.
Right. Right. And it's like, what, and give up show business? What I was thinking is that it would probably be good, as you can see from the photo, Steve's not an in-your-face kind of cartoonist. So he's probably not going to do this, but this would be my recommendation in the convention hook end of things. Hold up an enlargement of one of the alien sketch card and a photo beside it, so that it's not the same size as sketch card, and just say to people as they're walking by, want a sketch card of you as a Klingon? Because it's like a Klingon they know. What was the other one? See, I didn't know that name.
Ferengi.
Ferengi. See, you would have to be at least a 7 out of 10 Star Trek fan. And it was the Next Generation?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to be a Next Generation Star Trek fan to get that one. But Klingon, everybody knows Klingon.
I'm just thinking, back in the early 2000s, my friend Kelly used to go to the Chicago Comic-Con right after Wizard had bought it. And she would get a table, and the deal was she'd get the table and she would get a couple extra passes because, you get X number of passes when you buy a table. And she would invite me to go with her, and basically my job was to babysit and, watch the table when she had to go to the bathroom, get her food, make sure she was, not dying, and the, for doing that, I get to go to the convention for free and run around and do whatever I want, just periodically check on her. And one year I got bored of walking around, and so I sat down next to her, and, people were giving her sketchbooks and getting sketches and she was doing sketches on her own sketch paper. But she's a talented artist that, kind of like Steve, kind of like you, I can do a sketch, but it's going to be, okay, give me the sketchbook and come back in an hour. And the whole time she's sketching, she's not really selling and making money because she's focusing on sketching. And so I had a bunch of Post-it notes, so I started sketching Post-it notes. And I am not a good artist. I very much am. I'm closer to the Elrod. He can do one every 5 damn seconds end. And so I was doing little stick figure sketches and putting them in a notebook. And when people would come by and look, the hook was, "Would you like a free sketch?" And they were like, looking at her art, going, "Yes, yes, I would." And I would open up the notebook, and there's all these Post-it notes and stick figures, and people. A bunch of times it was the disappointment of, okay. But after about a minute, they'd look at them, and there were little one-panel gag sketches. I mean, the one that I did, I swear I must have done at least a dozen or two of. It was Why I'm Not an Artist Part 1, and it was a stick figure Batman. And then I wrote, "My name's not Jim Lee." And Jim Lee was the guest of honor that year, and he was doing Batman.
Right.
And like, everybody saw that, laughed, because it was, the joke sells itself real easily. And, "Oh, yeah, can I have this one?" "Yeah, sure." And as soon as it went away, I'd do another one and throw it back in the notebook. I mean, and at first I thought Kelly would be kind of annoyed about the fact that, I was quote-unquote stealing her thunder, and after a little while, I asked, I'm like, "You okay with this?" And she's like, "Oh, no, that's great." Like, people actually stop, not everybody's buying something, but they're more likely to give some money because we made them laugh and gave them a cute little sketch. And she's like, "That's the best hook I've had ever." And I'm going, okay.
Right.
In fact, Race Car Comics #1 is the sketches I didn't get rid of that I went, okay, and photocopied and made that horrible little mini comic.
Aha! More method to your madness. But I got to tell you, you are the definitive Boner the Runt Dog cartoonist of record. Nobody else can do Boner the Runt Dog like you do, Matt.
Well, yeah, this is the part where I show your version of Boner, and everybody goes, "Not his is better."
What do they know? Okay, finishing off on the Steve Peters, Lang Stevens thing. Having just read the comic verse behind the scenes book, the solo book that Bianca did, which I was very, very impressed by. It was one of those things where, okay, the first part of Please Hold today is going to be Steve Peters and his Kickstarter, but I can stretch a point here where I got all of the Kickstarter stuff in from the Comicverse one, and it's like, okay, well, this is studying for Please Hold, which is what I do all day on the first Thursday of the month. But it's also reading comic books and reading text. And I got to tell you, what they're looking at right now is Barnard's story, Steve Ditko story that he did, that Bianca wrote the balloons for, which was Steve's idea. That why can't I remember his name? All I remember is the Barnard part. Anyway, he's doing this amazing riff on Steve Ditko from a Charlton Outer Space comic, but doing it in his own style. and then just leaving the words out of the word balloons. And Bianca is, as a writer, is so far at the other end of the human spectrum, from 1950s Steve Ditko science fiction, written, I assume, by Joe Gill, that I phoned Steve and specifically talked to him about it, saying, how did this go? And it was, well, he came up with the idea. And he did say, as she's looking at the artwork, she's going, can you tell me what's going on here? And it's like, well, it's a Joe Gill, Steve Ditko, Charlton science fiction story from 1950s. I can only explain it so far in your frames of reference. And then the stuff that she did in the word balloons is just amazing. It's like Steve Ditko, 1950s, is pure hydrogen, and Bianca is pure helium. And here's what they look like when they get together. And I have to say the same thing. There's a text piece in the comic verse behind the scenes, or behind the counter, called Sue's Place. And when I read it, I had an instantaneous reaction of, this is probably one of the best helium stories I've ever read. This is a helium sensibility, writing completely from a helium angle, and just knocking it out of the ballpark, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, and just a drop-dead ending on it, where it's, you want to know, if you're hydrogen and you want to know about helium, here, you read this story, and that'll take you to graduate school. So applause on that one.